How do Python web frameworks map URL to functions? Imagine you're visiting a website and clicking on different links. Behind the scenes, the website needs to know which code to run for each link. That's where URL mapping comes in. When you build web applications with Python, frameworks like Flask and Django help you connect URL to specific functions that handle requests. This process is called URL routing or URL dispatching. In simple terms, URL routing is like a traffic controller. It looks at the URL you entered and decides which function should respond. Each URL has a pattern, which can be fixed or include dynamic parts. For example, a URL like blog 123 might show a blog post with the id 123. The pattern for this URL can include a placeholder for the id. In Flask, you define routes using decorators. You write a line above your function that says, for example, at app, route/blog/int id. This tells Flask that when someone visits a URL matching that pattern, it should run that function. Flask then takes the part of the URL that matches the placeholder, converts it to the specified type, and passes it as an argument to the function. Django handles routing differently. You create URL patterns in a separate file called URL configuration. These patterns can include regular expressions or path converters. When a request comes in, Django compares the URL to each pattern. If it finds a match, it calls the linked view function and supplies any captured variables. Pyramid, another Python framework, uses a routing registry. You register each route with a name and pattern, and link it to a view function. When a request matches a pattern, Pyramid calls the view with any parameters extracted from the URL. The process starts with pattern matching. The framework compares the incoming URL path and HTTP method to the list of registered routes. If it finds a match, it extracts any dynamic parts, like ids or usernames, and converts them to the right data types. Then, it dispatches the request to the associated function, passing along the request object and parameters. If no route matches, the framework usually returns an error like 404 not found. This system makes it easy to organize your application around specific URL endpoints. For example, you can have /user/Django show a user profile, or product 45 display details for product number 45. In essence, Python web frameworks map URL to functions by registering patterns with handlers, matching incoming requests to these patterns, pulling out any variables, and then calling the right function to generate a response. This setup helps you build web apps that respond correctly to user navigation and API calls, making your site more organized and easier to manage.